and if Tony does want to reach the 6,000 ounce goal, we need more than one plant going, because this is the latest we've ever gone in my 20-ish years of working here to start sluicing.
The night was so cold that every breath turned to ice. The Klondike lay silent, too silent, yet deep beneath the frozen earth, something was waking. Locals always whispered that this ground didn't just hold gold, it held a secret, a truth buried for more than a century, waiting for the one crew bold enough to disturb it. Tony Beets, known across the north as the King of the Klondike, had been watching this last patch of land for years. Maps revealed nothing. Compasses spun uselessly, and old miners warned, "Touch that ground, and you're playing with fate." But Monica felt it, a quiet pull, like the earth itself was calling. Every night when the machines powered down, a faint rumble pulsed underground, like something was breathing. Workers grew uneasy. Some quit on the spot. Others swore they heard voices echoing through the gravel. But the Beets family understood one thing: where fear stands guard, treasure hides deepest. Then one morning, everything changed. An excavator struck something hard. Not rock, not steel, something older. Engines stopped. Air went still. Tony knelt and brushed away the mud. At first, just a faint gold glimmer, then another, and suddenly, a burst of golden shimmer so bright it stunned them. Someone whispered, This can't be real." But it was. That final desperate push had unearthed a pay streak untouched since the early 1900s, rich enough to rewrite Klondike history. Hours later, the tally came in, $98 million in gold, from one pit, one run, one moment of courage. But here's the real mystery. How did the ground hide so much for so long? And why did it reveal itself now? Because the discovery didn't just expose gold. It awakened a story the earth had been protecting. And trust me, what happened next, nobody saw coming. Before we uncover the unimaginable truth buried beneath that frozen pit, smash that like button, hit subscribe, and turn on notifications. Because this is only the beginning. They weren't done yet, not even close. When the Klondike season hung by a thread in late September 2024, winter wasn't just approaching, it was racing. The ground hardened earlier than expected. Temperatures sank below freezing at night, and most crews were already shutting down. But in the far reaches of Paradise Hill, Monica Beets wasn't ready to accept defeat. Their season had been decent, but not historic. Just under $41 million in gold recovered, meaning they were still short of their most ambitious target. Most of the proven ground had already been worked, and every geological survey insisted there was nothing new worth chasing. Still, Monica kept reviewing sensor logs late into the night, searching for anything they had missed. That was when she spotted it. A single narrow spike, no wider than a heartbeat. Most miners would have ignored it. Even Tony shrugged when she showed him. Old survey data from 1901 to 1907 had declared this exact section sterile ground, nothing but sand and clay. But Monica had a habit. She trusted flaws in the map more than the map itself. The reading didn't make sense, yet something told her not to walk away. So at dawn, she and a small crew took a drill, punching test holes at random angles. At 28 feet, the first pan came up dusted with fines, barely enough to comment on. But they tried again. At 35 feet, flakes turned into specks. At 42 feet, the pan glittered, so bright that one driller quietly whispered, "This is no fluke." Within 2 days of trenching, they uncovered a sealed glacial channel, a hidden pathway older than the stampeders who stormed the Yukon in 1896. This channel hadn't been touched because early miners had no way to detect it. Thousands passed over it during the Klondike gold rush, chasing dream after dream, never knowing they were stepping on a river of wealth. The soil changed color, ochre, iron-rich, a sign of old water flow. Even Tony's skepticism started to fade. Beneath that transition layer, the first real proof emerged. Thick, chunky placer gold, pieces so pure they seemed poured instead of naturally formed. The crew weighed the first cleanup, over 200 ounces, from a single test run. The room went silent. No one breathed. That was when the backhoe hit pay streaks so dense, the mats loaded faster than they could clean them. The ground that should have been dead suddenly pulsed like a living vein. The area was re-scanned, and the line of gold extended farther than expected. Nearly 270 meters, with an estimated value nearing $98 million if fully extracted before freeze-up. Monica's gamble, chasing one tiny blip, had led them into a world the old-timers never touched. Lesson 1 was sealed. History doesn't repeat. It hides, and only those who trust their instincts discover the chapters no one else reads. Just as the celebration began, another challenge rose. The deeper they dug, the more unstable the channel became. Equipment began to struggle, and the pay streak appeared to bend sharply under ground, forcing them to decide whether to chase the unknown even farther. By early October 2024, as the crews pushed farther into the newly identified glacial channel, Monica ordered a wider cut. The pay dirt kept strengthening. Heavier black sand, smoother gravel, and richer streaks that hinted at an older river system buried for thousands of years. But as the excavator cleared away a fresh layer, the bucket struck wood. Not roots or drift, but shaped timbers, straight edges, man-made. The crew stopped instantly. Buried under 2 meters of compact clay lay a crumbling network of hand-laid supports, probably from the early 1900s. Nearby, they discovered rusted iron bolts, broken pipe fittings, and the twisted remains of what resembled an old floating dredge belly. Time had frozen it in place. Tony examined the pieces, brushing off gravel with a thumb. "Someone fought this ground," he muttered. Records from the original Klondike Gold Rush, 1896 to 1910, mentioned dozens of small operators who vanished quietly after short, unlucky seasons. Most lacked the machinery to dig deeper than 20 to 25 feet, and they were forced to abandon any ground that collapsed or flooded too quickly. These relics proved that miners had tried this exact spot and walked away, beaten by depth and harsh northern water flow. But failure wasn't a warning. It was evidence. If they tried that hard, they must have seen signs. Monica believed the old attempts showed they were on the right path, just 1 century too early. Now, with modern pumps and dozers, the Beets family could reach depths Pike-age miners never dreamed of. Ground studies from their test cores confirmed it. Gold concentration jumped 78% between 30 to 45 feet, far richer than surface layers. They logged the relics, marking them on the map. The forgotten dredge couldn't have been moved that far up valley unless someone knew the channel was there, a breadcrumb left by history. And once Monica realized that early miners had missed the deepest pay layer by only 6 to 8 feet, something inside her shifted. This wasn't just luck. This was inheritance. The team widened the cut another 50 meters west, following the arc of the channel. The cleanup numbers exploded. First 150 ounces, then 280, then 410, all within a single 10-day window. The season's running total surged past $57 million, breathing new life into the final Klondike push. Every shovelful felt like a conversation with ghosts, generations who tried but never reached the real prize. Monica often said, "The past doesn't vanish. It waits for someone stubborn enough to listen." And as the crew dug deeper, listening to the quiet guidance of those who came before, the ground changed again. Gravel sharpened, colors darkened, and the gold grew coarser and heavier. Just then, a strange shift in the channel forced the team to confront something entirely new, a geological twist that no map had ever predicted. By mid-October 2024, snow threatened the valley's rim, and daylight shrank to just over 10 hours, yet Monica refused to rush into full-scale production. The numbers looked unbelievable, too good, almost suspicious. So rather than firing up every wash plant, she ordered something quieter, smarter. Test small, prove everything. Long after the main crew returned to camp, Monica, Tony, and a rotation of trusted hands worked through the night under generator lights. They cut controlled buckets of gravel from the deepest edge of the channel, 38 to 46 feet, and fed them through a scaled-down system. Tiny trays, hand pans, and micro sluice mats. The first test came back with 34 ounces per 100 cubic yards, a number that made Tony check the scales twice. The second test hit 41 ounces, with coarse nuggets tangled in black sand, so dense it looked magnetic. But the third sample, pulled from a narrow bend in the channel, stunned them. 57 ounces per 100 cubic yards, nearly double the average of most Klondike claims. No one cheered, not yet. Monica insisted on purity checks. If this gold came from surface contamination or misread gravel, the streak would disappear when tested by fire assay. But the lab results, processed right at camp using portable analyzers, confirmed what they feared to hope. Purity averaged 89 to 93%, unusually high for Klondike placer. These numbers weren't myth. They were history waking up. The gold wasn't flaky river dust. It was thick, muscular metal shaped by pressure and time. Many pieces still carried quartz veins, meaning they had broken free from their original load only recently, geologically speaking. That meant the glacial channel could be a feeder, pushing gold across centuries from a hidden source deeper underground. Even Tony's eyebrows lifted. You don't ignore geology like that. To eliminate doubt, they expanded testing another 60 meters along the predicted arc of the channel. Every point returned gold. Not identical amounts, but enough to prove the pay streak wasn't a pocket. It was a river of buried wealth. Over the next 5 days, quiet testing added 1,140 plus ounces, nearly $2.7 million US, without firing a full crew or running a single shift of standard wash plants. This cautious patience became the lesson. Small proof is the seed of great fortune. Rushing blinds you. Testing teaches you. But testing also revealed a deeper truth. The pay sharply increased where the ground dropped into a narrow throat of ancient gravel so compact it shook the drill steel like bone. That meant one thing. The best gold lay deeper and harder to reach. Monica faced a decision. Slow down and risk winter closing in, or push the machines into ground so tight it could break them. Before she could decide, the weather shifted, and the valley echoed with the first sign of incoming storms. By late October 2024, the Klondike had turned hostile. Daytime temps hovered at -5 degrees Celsius, and the ancient channel Monica targeted forced the crew into the most dangerous ground they had tackled all season. Their deeper cuts reached 47 to 52 feet, a depth early 1900s miners never survived long in. And soon the earth reminded everyone why. The first warning came quietly, a soft groan beneath the excavator, like frozen bones cracking. The second hit harder. The cut wall sheared, unleashing an underground water vein. The pit flooded in minutes. Pumps roared, hoses bucked like wild snakes, and alarms echoed across Paradise Hill. Gravel boiled underfoot. The cut was becoming a grave. Some crew members shouted to pull out. Even Tony, reading the tremors, was ready to call a retreat. But Monica refused to blink. She climbed into the mud-slick pit herself, pointing teams where to build emergency berms. 2 primary pumps kicked water away at 3,000 plus gallons per minute, buying precious minutes. They reinforced the walls with rough rock fill and steel plating, then set backup pumps at the pit's throat. A dangerous gamble that kept the channel accessible. The next night, when the ground shifted again, panic rippled through camp. A second vein burst, pushing water levels nearly to the wash plant feed. Lightning snapped through the sky. Mud swallowed drill tracks. Still, no one left their post. Not when gold this rich was whispering below. It became a brutal dance. Water surged, pumps countered. Walls slumped, dozers rebuilt. Nature screamed. The crew screamed louder. By November 1st, they were running 24-hour rotation, fighting storm, frost, and groundwater. But every cleanup kept them alive. The pay was incredible. With chaos swirling, the gold count climbed past 6,400 ounces for the push, worth over $15 million. Monica told her exhausted team, "Chaos only breaks those who want the easy win," and the ground finally relented. The deeper they cut into the old riverbed, the richer it ran. Nuggets the size of walnuts slid across sluice mats. The black sand thickened to an oily sheen, the signature of heavy mineral concentration. The cleanup after the worst collapse was the biggest yet, 1,120 ounces in one pull, engines still steaming from the fight. Fear wanted them to run. Courage demanded they stay. And that choice, to keep digging through danger, pushed them beyond the shallow myths of the Klondike and into the untouched heart of its history. The crew no longer doubted. Chaos wasn't the threat, it was the test. But even as they stabilized the cut, Tony noticed something in the gravel structure, a subtle tilt, a directional pull, suggesting the ancient pay channel wasn't just deep, it was bending, narrowing into a concentrated throat no map had shown before, where the richest gold might be waiting. By early November 2024, winter had officially seized the Klondike. Nighttime temperatures plunged toward -15 degrees Celsius, turning hoses rigid and freezing water before it reached the pumps. Yet the Beets crew kept tearing deeper into the ancient channel, because what lay below wasn't just gold. It was a century-old promise waiting to be claimed. The deeper layers were brutal. The upper gravel gave way to dense, blue-gray clay, packed so tightly it bent bucket teeth and chewed through excavator steel like bone. Beneath that, ice veins spidered through the cut, locking pay into frozen slabs that had to be hammered apart before they could be washed. Every bucket felt heavier than the last, not because of volume, but because time itself clung to the material. When the first mats came off this new layer, the crew froze. The gold wasn't scattered. It was layered, thick, muscular, uninterrupted. Pan tests spiked beyond 60 ounces per 100 cubic yards, and cleanups routinely hit 1,200 plus ounces per shift, pushing their running total past $75 million USD. In just 9 days, they pulled more gold than their previous month's total. The mats looked unreal, as if someone had sprayed liquid metal across the riffles. Tony arrived during a late-night cleanup after hauling across frozen ground. He didn't talk. He didn't need to. He just stared at the gold, heavy, coarse, collected like ancient tribute, and nodded once. This was the kind of pay streak old-timers dreamed about and never reached. Nearby lay pieces of a century-old dredge, iron belly, shattered gears, reminders that someone before them had tried to conquer this same monster. Those miners hadn't failed because they were weak. They failed because the tools of their era were too small for the task. Now, generations later, Monica was finishing what they started. It became clear that extraction wasn't a harvest. There was no simple scooping of treasure. It was a war. Dozers fought collapsing walls. Excavators carved frozen clay. Wash plants ran until metal sang. And all the while, daylight shortened, down to less than 9 hours, forcing the crew into round-the-clock rotations just to stay ahead of the freeze. But inch by inch, bucket by bucket, they conquered the ancient ground. Success came not through luck, but endurance, the willingness to suffer so history could breathe again. Every time exhaustion threatened to break the crew, the gold reminded them why they were there. Pieces bigger than thumbnails, nuggets tangled in black sand, the kind of gold you feel in your chest before you hold it in your hands. But as they approached the deepest center of the pay throat, the point where the glacial channel pinched and twisted, Monica noticed a structural change in the gravel. The signs of a flare, a widening, a possible final pocket where gold might have settled heavier than anywhere else, just waiting for the bold to take it. By mid-November 2024, the final cleanup was run under a sky that felt more like deep winter than fall. Snow drifted over the cut, and engines wheezed like tired lungs. The ancient channel had finally given up its deepest secret, a flare of concentrated pay that produced gold faster than the crew could weigh it. Those last midnight shifts felt unreal. Freezing hands, fogged headlamps, and sluice mats so saturated with gold they shimmered even before the wash. When the final numbers came in, the camp went silent. $98 million, more than 9,600 ounces pulled in one relentless push. The richest yield a single Beets season had ever seen. No cheering, no shouting, just quiet, disbelief. For a moment, time felt as if it paused. The entire crew, staring at stacked bars and raw nuggets that seemed impossible for one valley, one season. Some miners wiped their faces, unsure whether they were sweating or crying in the icy wind. Tony, who had seen more gold than almost anyone walking, only folded his arms, looking at the pile with a stillness that said more than any words could. He remembered when he first reached the Yukon in the 1980s, hauling rusted machinery through mud and snow, chasing rumors older than the men who spoke them. Decades later, standing beside his daughter, he knew this wasn't just a win. It was a passing of the torch. Yet Monica didn't call it victory. She called it permission. The Klondike is not a place you conquer. It is a place that chooses who may take its treasure. Their success had not come from maps or luck or muscle alone, but from respecting the land that had buried its wealth beneath clay, ice, and memory for over a century. When they finished processing, they didn't strip the valley bare. They shut down the plant. They backbladed the cut. They sealed the access road under snow and rock to keep scavengers away. What remained of the pay channel was left protected, not because they feared others, but because they recognized that the earth still held stories they were not meant to touch. Not yet. That last night, as generators fell quiet, campfires burned low, and the valley settled back into its endless winter. Monica walked along the edge of the frozen cut. She placed a hand on the cold gravel wall, a silent thank you to the ground that had offered so much. She knew every ounce they pulled carried another miner's dream, a whisper from 1898, a promise from those who came with nothing but a pan, a mule, and hope. The Klondike had tested them with flood, ice, danger, exhaustion. And in return, it had given them a season that would live longer than their names. Those who respect the ground become its keepers. They don't just take gold, they leave legacy. And as the Beets crew packed their final crates, the riverbeds froze solid again, hiding the old channels beneath layers of winter, waiting, as always, for the next stubborn soul brave enough to listen to what history still murmurs deep underground.